Waitress feeds poor elderly man. 3 days later, a millionaire and lawyers walk through her door. Hello everyone. Before we begin today's story, I have a small favor to ask. Please hit subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss our channel's new videos. It's quick, free, and the best way to support us in bringing you more dramatic stories. Your support means the world to us. Where are you watching from? Drop your city or country in the comments below. Thank you very much. Let's dive into today's story. Emily had been working at the small family-owned diner for the past few years, serving the regulars and always keeping a smile, no matter how hard things were. She was the kind of waitress who treated everyone with kindness, whether they were rich or poor. It had become second nature for her to put others before herself, even when she barely had enough to get by. The diner, nestled in a quiet part of the city, wasn't much. It had the charm of a small-town cafe, but the struggles of a business that barely made ends meet. The walls were decorated with faded photos, and the tables had seen better days, but it was home to Emily. One cold evening, as the wind howled outside, an elderly man walked into the diner. His clothes were worn, and his face looked tired, as if life had taken a lot out of him. He shuffled to the counter, his movements slow, as if every step was a struggle. Emily had noticed him many times before, sitting in the corner booth, always alone. But tonight, he seemed different. She couldn't help but feel a sense of urgency in her heart as she watched him sit down with his head lowered, staring at the menu, but never ordering. Emily had always prided herself on seeing people, really seeing them, and it didn't take long for her to realize that something wasn't right. She approached the man, offering her warm smile as she greeted him. "Hello, sir. Can I get you something tonight?" The man looked up, his eyes tired but kind. He hesitated before speaking, his voice barely above a whisper. "Just a cup of coffee, please." Emily nodded and went to get the coffee, but something about the man's demeanor made her pause. She couldn't shake the feeling that he was more than just a regular customer. She returned with the coffee, setting it down in front of him. "Are you sure you don't want anything to eat? We've got some delicious homemade soup tonight." The man looked at her, and for a moment, Emily could see the weight of the world in his eyes. "I don't have much money," he said softly, his voice tinged with shame. Emily smiled gently. "Don't worry about that. Tonight, the soup is on me." The elderly man looked at her with surprise, then slowly nodded. "Thank you, miss. You're very kind." Emily felt a warmth in her chest as she watched him sip the coffee, his hands shaking slightly. She couldn't explain it, but she knew in that moment that she had made the right choice. Little did she know, her simple act of kindness would set off a chain of events that would change her life forever. 3 days later, something unexpected happened. A group of people entered the diner, and they weren't the usual crowd. They were dressed in sharp suits, their confident steps echoing through the quiet room. At the front of the group was a man who looked familiar, but Emily couldn't place him. He approached the counter, and before Emily could say anything, he spoke. "Excuse me, are you Emily?" She nodded slowly, wondering who this could be. "We need to talk to you about a matter that requires your attention. It's about a very important person," the man said, his voice serious. Emily's heart skipped a beat. What was going on? Why were these people here, and why did they want to talk to her? She was just a waitress, nothing special. But little did she know, her life was about to take a turn she never could have imagined. I was confused, but the seriousness in their voices made it clear this was no ordinary visit. The man who spoke was tall, well-groomed, and dressed in a dark suit that screamed wealth. He had a commanding presence, his sharp eyes scanning the room as if he were used to being in control. The rest of the group, a mix of professionals, stood just behind him, all watching Emily with a level of intensity she wasn't used to. She tried to mask her nerves with a polite smile, but inside, her heart was racing. Was this some kind of mistake? Why would anyone want to talk to her? Of all people, she wasn't important. She wasn't anything special. She was just a waitress. "Can I help you?" Emily finally asked, her voice sounding steadier than she felt. The man's gaze softened, just slightly, as he addressed her directly. "We are here on behalf of Mr. Tom, the man you helped the other night." Emily blinked, confused. "Mr. Tom? The man I gave soup to?" She didn't understand. "Yes, that Mr. Tom. He's asked us to come find you. It's a very important matter, one that involves his personal affairs." The man's words were clipped, But there was something about his demeanor that suggested this wasn't just a routine visit. This wasn't a simple thank you for a kind gesture. Emily's mind raced. I don't understand. Why would he send people to find me? I only gave him soup. It wasn't a big deal. The man's expression softened again, and he gestured for Emily to follow him. Please, come with us. We'll explain everything. It's very important. Emily hesitated for a moment. She was tired. It had been a long day at the diner. But the curiosity that gripped her wouldn't let her turn away. The idea that Mr. Tom, someone she had barely known, could send lawyers and a professional team to find her was more than she could ignore. She grabbed her coat and followed the group out of the diner. As they walked to the car parked outside, the cold evening air bit at her cheeks. The city was alive with the hum of traffic, but the weight of the moment made everything else seem distant, as if the world had faded away. Emily got into the back of a sleek black car, her mind spinning with questions. She glanced at the man who had spoken to her. Why me? What's going on? The man turned to her, his face serious. Mr. Tom is not just any man. He is a billionaire, and he has decided that he wants to repay you for your kindness. We're here to facilitate that. Emily was silent for a long moment. A billionaire? The man who had looked so tired and humble in the diner was a billionaire? It didn't make sense. She could feel her heart racing again. Mr. Tom is a man who values loyalty and integrity, the man continued. He has decided that you are the person he wants to help. What you did for him touched him deeply. And now, he wants to make sure you and your family are taken care of. He's offering you a chance to change your life, Emily. A chance to leave behind the struggles of waiting tables and live a life that you deserve. Emily shook her head, still not understanding. But I didn't do it for anything in return. I just saw someone who needed help. That's all. The man nodded. And that's why Mr. Tom is so impressed with you. Most people would have ignored him, looked past him. But you didn't. You saw him. And that's why he's offering you this. They pulled up to a tall, modern building, the lights gleaming brightly against the night sky. As they entered the building, Emily felt completely out of place. The grand lobby was lined with marble floors and golden accents. She was led to an elevator that took them up to the top floor. The doors opened to a private suite with panoramic views of the city. It felt like a completely different world. The man gestured for her to sit at the large, round table in the center of the room. Mr. Tom will be with you shortly. Emily sat down, still trying to process everything. A few minutes later, the door opened, and in walked Mr. Tom. But this wasn't the same man she had seen in the diner. He was dressed in an expensive suit, his posture straight and confident. He looked younger, more alive, as if a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. He smiled when he saw Emily and walked toward her. Emily, he said, his voice warm and sincere. Thank you for what you did. You've done more for me than you know. Emily stood up, her heart racing. She couldn't believe this was happening. The man who had been so humble was now standing before her, a completely different person. He gestured to the men around him. These are my lawyers. They're here to help you, to make sure that everything we've discussed is taken care of. Emily looked around, still in shock. I don't know what to say. Mr. Tom smiled. You don't have to say anything. Just accept what I'm offering you. A chance to have a future without worry, a future where you can focus on what matters. And it's all because you showed me kindness when I needed it most. Emily was speechless. She had never imagined that a simple act of kindness could lead to something like this. She had never expected that the man she had helped would be a billionaire, let alone offer her a chance to change her life. But here she was, standing in a luxurious room, surrounded by people who wanted to give her everything she had ever dreamed of. She could hardly believe it. Mr. Tom walked closer, his expression sincere. You've earned this, Emily, and I want you to have it. All you need to do is say yes. It was hard for Emily to process everything that had happened so far. Just days ago, she was serving coffee and soup to strangers in a small, rundown diner. Now, she was sitting in an elegant suite, surrounded by the kind of luxury she had only ever dreamed of. Mr. Tom stood before her, smiling, his confident posture a stark contrast to the humble man she had met in the diner. He looked every bit the part of a powerful billionaire now, his wealth and influence radiating from him. Emily felt a strange mix of awe and discomfort. All you need to do is say yes, Mr. Tom repeated, his voice calm but firm. Emily could feel the weight of his words. What was she supposed to say? How could she turn down an opportunity like this? She had been struggling for so long, barely scraping by with her job at the diner. This was a chance to change everything, to give her and her family a future free from worry. But there was something inside her that hesitated. It wasn't just about the money or the luxury. It was about something more. She had always believed in working hard for what she had, in earning things the right way. Accepting Mr. Tom's offer felt like giving up that principle. She opened her mouth to speak, but found herself unable to form the words. Mr. Tom must have sensed her hesitation. "Emily, I know this is overwhelming. You've probably never imagined a life like this for yourself. But you're not just any waitress. You've shown me kindness when others would have walked right past me. That kind of heart deserves to be rewarded." Emily's mind raced. Her mother's medical bills were piling up, and the small apartment she lived in was falling apart. She had tried so hard to make ends meet, but it was a constant struggle. And now, here was Mr. Tom, offering her a chance to have everything she had ever wanted. But did she deserve it? Was it right to take this gift? "I don't know what to say," Emily said softly, her voice trembling. Mr. Tom's gaze softened. "You don't have to say anything right now, but I want you to understand that I'm not offering this out of pity. I'm offering it because you earned it. You showed me a kindness that no one else would have." Emily took a deep breath, her hands clenched in her lap. The room felt suffocating now, the weight of Mr. Tom's words pressing down on her. She wanted to make the right decision, but she couldn't shake the feeling that this was all happening too fast. "What if I don't want this?" she asked quietly, looking up at him. "What if I'm not ready for such a big change?" Mr. Tom smiled again, as though he had expected this response. "Then we'll take it one step at a time. There's no rush, Emily. The offer will still be there whenever you're ready." Emily sat in silence for a few moments, her mind swirling with possibilities. Was this the right path for her? Could she really leave behind the life she had known for something so different, so unknown? Her heart told her one thing, but her head told her something else. The soft ticking of the clock on the wall was the only sound in the room as she pondered her decision. Finally, Emily spoke, her voice quiet but steady. "I appreciate everything you've offered me, Mr. Tom, but I can't just accept it without thinking about it. I need time to process all of this." Mr. Tom nodded, his expression understanding. "Of course. Take all the time you need. There's no pressure." He turned to one of the lawyers who had accompanied him. "We'll make sure everything is in place for Emily whenever she's ready to move forward." Emily stood up, the weight of the moment still heavy on her shoulders. "Thank you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "Thank you for believing in me." Mr. Tom smiled warmly. "You've done more than enough, Emily. Now, it's your turn to take control of your own destiny." As she walked out of the room, Emily felt a sense of relief mixed with uncertainty. She didn't have all the answers, but for the first time in a long time, she felt like she had options. The world outside seemed brighter somehow, filled with new possibilities. As she stepped into the elevator and it descended to the lobby, she realized that no matter what happened next, she had already made a decision. She wasn't going to let fear hold her back. She was going to take a leap of faith. And for the first time in a long time, she felt hopeful about the future. It had been a few days since Emily left Mr. Tom's office, and though she had asked for time to think, the weight of the decision still pressed heavily on her. The luxury of the office, the offers of a new life, the prospect of leaving behind the endless struggle at the diner, it was a lot to process. She had walked out that day, uncertain but hopeful, feeling for the first time in years that there was something more for her out there. But when she returned to her small apartment, the reality of her life set back in. The cramped space, the sound of her mother's coughing from the other room, the bills stacked on the kitchen table, everything pulled her back to where she had started. No matter how tempting Mr. Tom's offer was, could she really leave all of this behind? She hadn't worked this hard, struggled this much, to just accept help from someone she barely knew. But then again, maybe this was the chance she had been waiting for. Maybe it wasn't about abandoning everything she had worked for. It was about taking a step forward towards something better. One evening, as she sat at the kitchen table, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Mr. Tom's lawyer, confirming that the offer still stood and that everything was in place if she chose to move forward. Emily stared at the message for a long moment, her fingers hovering over the screen. She had already decided in her heart, but reading the words again brought the weight of the decision back to the forefront. What if she said no? What if she stayed in her small world, working endless hours to get by, always just one step away from losing it all. But the thought of the opportunity that was waiting for her, the chance to finally take control of her life, to help her mother, to escape the constant pressure of financial instability, made it impossible to ignore. She didn't have to do this alone anymore. Mr. Tom's offer wasn't just about money. It was about something far bigger. It was about a chance to build a future, to provide for the people she loved, to have a life where she didn't have to worry every day about whether she could pay the bills or put food on the table. Emily took a deep breath and typed out a response. "I'm ready." The decision was made. The next morning, she dressed in her best outfit, an old blazer she had picked up from a thrift store and a simple skirt she had saved up for. It wasn't much, but it was all she had. As she looked at herself in the mirror, she could feel the nerves bubbling up inside her. She had been to important meetings before, but nothing like this. Nothing that had the potential to change her entire life. When she arrived at the office, it was as grand as she remembered. Polished floors, sleek modern furniture, and the buzz of success in the air. She was led through the halls by the same lawyer who had contacted her, and each step she took felt like a step into a new world. When she reached Mr. Tom's office, he was waiting for her. This time, he was dressed casually, still impeccable, but his warm demeanor made the room feel less intimidating. He smiled when he saw her. "Emily," he said, standing up to greet her. "I'm glad you came." Emily smiled back, her heart racing. "Thank you for giving me the time to think. I've made my decision." Mr. Tom nodded, his expression serious. "I know it's not easy, but I believe in you, and I believe you have a lot to offer." He gestured for her to sit. "We've set everything up. You'll have the opportunity to manage part of my company's foundation, and there are other investments we can discuss once you're settled in. But the most important thing is that you'll never have to worry about your future again." Emily sat down, still processing his words. He was offering her a chance to manage part of his company's foundation, a role that would involve not just financial oversight, but a real impact on people's lives. She had never imagined she could be in a position like this. "I don't know what to say," she said quietly. Mr. Tom smiled kindly. "You don't have to say anything yet. Just know that this is your opportunity to shape your own future. And I'm here to help you every step of the way." Emily swallowed hard, her thoughts racing. Could she really do this? Could she leave behind the diner, the only life she had ever known, for something so different? But as she looked at Mr. Tom, she realized that this wasn't just an opportunity for a better job or more money. It was a chance for her to finally take control of her destiny, to stop living in survival mode and start living with purpose. "I'm ready," she said finally, her voice firm. Mr. Tom smiled again, his eyes bright with approval. "I knew you would be. Let's get started, Emily. Your future is waiting." As she left the office that day, Emily felt a sense of peace she hadn't felt in years. She wasn't sure what the future held, but she knew one thing for sure. She was no longer just a waitress. She was someone with the power to change her life and the lives of others. And that was just the beginning. It had been a few weeks since Emily made the decision to accept Mr. Tom's offer, and her life had already begun to change in ways she could barely comprehend. She had moved out of her small apartment into a modest but comfortable new place close to the office. The new job was challenging, but in a way that made her feel alive, like she was finally in control of her future. No longer was she simply waiting tables, wondering if her next paycheck would cover her bills. Now, she was managing part of the foundation, overseeing programs that provided resources for people in need, much like she had once been. Every day was a learning experience, and though there were moments of self-doubt, she could feel herself growing, both personally and professionally. Mr. Tom had kept his promise to guide her through the transition. He often checked in with her, offering advice when needed, but giving her the space to find her own way. She could tell he genuinely believed in her, and it pushed her to work even harder. The first few months were filled with excitement, but also uncertainty. Emily had never been in a corporate environment like this before. The other employees were highly educated, many with impressive resumes and connections that Emily could only dream of. But instead of feeling intimidated, she felt a deep sense of purpose. She was here for a reason. Every project she worked on felt like a step toward building a life she could be proud of. One afternoon, as she sat in her office, reviewing a new grant proposal, her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "How's the new job going? I'm so proud of you, Emily. You've come so far." Emily smiled, her heart swelling with love for her mother. It had been a long time since she had felt this proud of herself. The thought of how far she had come brought tears to her eyes. Just a few months ago, she had been struggling to keep the lights on, unsure how she would pay the next month's rent. Now, she had a stable job, an opportunity to make a difference, and the chance to help her mother live a better life. As she typed her response, her phone rang. It was a number she didn't recognize, but something about it made her pick up. "Hello," she said, her voice steady but curious. "Hi, is this Emily Matthews?" the voice on the other end asked. "Yes, speaking. This is Sarah from Tom's office. Mr. Tom asked me to reach out to you. He wants to meet with you about something important. Can you come by tomorrow?" Emily's heart skipped a beat. Mr. Tom had been a guiding figure in her life, and now he wanted to meet with her? She agreed to come in the next morning, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. When she arrived at the office the next day, she was escorted up to Mr. Tom's private office. The large windows offered a stunning view of the city, but Emily wasn't focused on the view. Her mind was racing with questions. What could he want to discuss? Was it about her work with the foundation? As she entered the room, Mr. Tom stood up from behind his desk and smiled warmly. "Emily, I'm glad you could make it." He gestured for her to sit. "Thank you for taking the time. I know you're busy." Emily sat down, trying to read his expression. "Of course, Mr. Tom. What's this about?" He leaned forward slightly, his tone serious but kind. "I've been thinking a lot about your progress. You've done incredible work with the foundation, and I can see the impact you're having. But I also know that you've been working tirelessly, and I want to make sure you're taking care of yourself too." Emily felt a lump form in her throat. "I'm doing okay," she said, though she knew it wasn't entirely true. The pressure of managing so much, combined with her desire to prove herself, had been taking a toll on her. "I just want to make sure I'm doing my best." Mr. Tom nodded, his gaze thoughtful. "That's exactly why I'm offering you something. You've earned it, Emily. I'm giving you the chance to take a break. A real one. I've arranged for you to take a 2-week sabbatical. Go somewhere you've always wanted to visit. Spend time with your family. Rest. Recharge." Emily blinked, stunned. A sabbatical? She couldn't remember the last time she had taken time for herself. I don't know what to say," she said, her voice shaky. Mr. Tom smiled. "You don't have to say anything right now. I just want you to know that you've earned it. And when you return, you'll be able to continue doing the incredible work you've started, recharged and ready for what's next." Emily sat in silence for a few moments, processing his words. A break. She had never allowed herself to rest like that before. But the more she thought about it, the more it felt like the right thing. She had been working non-stop, pouring all of her energy into her job, and now it was time to take a step back. She could already imagine herself spending time with her mother, maybe visiting the beach for a few days, or simply resting at home. It felt like a luxury she had never allowed herself. Mr. Tom's gesture meant more to her than he could have known. It wasn't just about the time off. It was about recognizing her efforts and giving her the opportunity to step away, to reflect, and to breathe. "Thank you," Emily said, her voice filled with gratitude. "I won't let you down." Mr. Tom nodded. "I know you won't. Take the time you need. We'll be here when you return." As Emily left his office that day, she felt a weight lift off her shoulders. For the first time in a long time, she felt like she had permission to take care of herself. And that, in itself, was a gift. It was the first morning of Emily's sabbatical, and the sense of freedom she had been yearning for had finally arrived. The 2-week break felt like a luxury, a much-needed pause from the whirlwind of responsibilities that had consumed her life. For the first time in months, she didn't wake up to the sound of alarms or the pressure of deadlines hanging over her head. It was just her mother, and the chance to relax. After a quiet breakfast with her mother, they decided to spend the day at the beach. Emily had always loved the ocean. Its vastness made her feel small, yet oddly at peace. The sound of the waves crashing on the shore brought a calmness she hadn't realized she had been missing. As they walked along the sand, Emily felt the tension in her shoulders slowly melt away. She realized how much she had neglected this side of herself, the part that needed rest, reflection, and the simple pleasures of life. Her mother, who had always been a source of strength, smiled as they both sat down on the beach towel. "You look different, Emily," her mother remarked, her voice soft but filled with warmth. "I don't know what it is, but you look at peace." Emily smiled, glancing at the horizon. I think it's because I'm finally taking time for myself. For once, I'm not running from one task to the next. Her mother reached out and squeezed her hand. I'm proud of you, sweetheart. You deserve this. You've worked so hard, and you've come so far. Emily felt a lump form in her throat. For so long, she had been focused on surviving, on getting through each day without falling behind. But now, sitting there with her mother, she realized how much she had missed out on. The moments of rest, the opportunities to just be present in her own life. I never thought I'd be here, Emily said quietly, staring at the ocean. I never imagined this kind of life for myself. I was always just trying to make it through, never really thinking about what I wanted or needed. Her mother nodded, understanding. It's easy to get caught up in the grind. But sometimes, the best thing you can do is step back and let yourself breathe. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. Emily felt her chest tighten at her mother's words. It had always been hard for her to accept help, to accept anything that wasn't earned through hard work. But now, for the first time, she was starting to see things differently. She had worked so hard, yes, but she didn't always have to carry the weight of the world on her own. She could accept help. She could take a break. And that was okay. Later that day, as they sat together watching the sunset, Emily's phone buzzed in her bag. She reached for it, curious, and saw that it was a message from Mr. Tom's lawyer. Emily, I hope you're enjoying your time off. When you're ready, we'd like to discuss your next steps with the foundation. There's also something else Mr. Tom wants to talk to you about. Let us know when you're available. Emily put the phone down, her heart racing slightly. She hadn't expected to hear from them so soon. The foundation had been a big part of her life since she took the job, but she hadn't anticipated Mr. Tom wanting to meet so quickly. She wasn't sure if she was ready to return to that world just yet. But then, as she thought about it, she realized something. She wasn't just a waitress anymore. She was a part of something bigger. She had the chance to make a real impact, to help change lives. And that responsibility was something she had to take seriously, even if it meant stepping back into that world sooner than she had planned. The next day, Emily called Mr. Tom's lawyer to set up a meeting. As she walked into the office building once again, she felt a strange mix of excitement and apprehension. What did Mr. Tom want to discuss? As she entered his office, he stood to greet her, a warm smile on his face. Emily, I'm glad to see you back. I hope you've had some time to relax. Emily smiled and nodded. I have, thank you. It's been exactly what I needed. Mr. Tom motioned for her to sit. I'm glad to hear that. Now, let's get to the business at hand. You've been doing outstanding work with the foundation, but I think it's time for you to take on a bigger role. We've been working on a new initiative that I'd like you to head. It's a big responsibility, but I know you're more than capable. Emily's heart raced. A bigger role? She had already been handling so much, but the opportunity to lead something like this was too big to ignore. She felt a rush of gratitude toward Mr. Tom for believing in her, for trusting her with such a responsibility. I don't know what to say, Emily said, her voice trembling slightly. I've only been here a short time. Are you sure I'm ready? Mr. Tom smiled. Emily, you've shown more than enough that you're ready. You've demonstrated leadership, compassion, and a true commitment to helping others. This initiative needs someone like you. Someone who understands what it means to struggle, to fight for a better life. I know you can make it a success. Emily sat in silence for a moment, the weight of his words sinking in. She had come so far since she first met Mr. Tom, but this was a whole new level. She was being asked to lead, to make decisions that could affect the lives of many. It was terrifying, but it was also exactly what she had always wanted, to make a real difference in the world. I'm in, she said, her voice steady. Mr. Tom smiled, his approval evident. I knew you would be. Let's get started. As Emily left the office that day, she felt a sense of purpose she had never known before. This was her chance to truly change the world, one decision at a time. And for the first time in a long time, she felt ready for it. It had been 3 months since Emily took on the new leadership role within the foundation, and she was slowly but surely making her mark. Every day brought new challenges, but also new victories. The initiative she was now overseeing was one of the foundation's largest projects yet. It was designed to support communities facing economic hardships, providing them with resources, education, and opportunities to break the cycle of poverty. Emily had poured her heart into the project, and though it was incredibly demanding, she felt a sense of fulfillment she had never known before. The work was meaningful. Every successful program, every person whose life was improved because of the foundation's efforts, made the long hours worth it. But it wasn't without its challenges. As the head of the initiative, Emily had to navigate the complexities of fundraising, management, and the high expectations of the board. There were moments of doubt, times when she questioned whether she was truly equipped for this responsibility. But every time she faced those doubts, she remembered Mr. Tom's faith in her and the people she was helping. That was enough to keep her moving forward. One afternoon, as Emily was reviewing budget reports in her office, a message came in from Sarah, Mr. Tom's lawyer. Mr. Tom wants to see you this afternoon. He has something he wants to discuss with you in person. Can you come by the office? The message was short, but Emily couldn't help but feel a flutter of nervousness in her chest. It wasn't uncommon for Mr. Tom to request meetings, but something about the tone of this message made her wonder if something important was about to happen. She quickly replied, agreeing to meet him later that day. As Emily arrived at the office, she was greeted by the usual formality: smooth marble floors, sleek glass walls, and a feeling of success that made her feel small. She was led up to Mr. Tom's office by one of his assistants, and when she entered, she was surprised to see that he wasn't alone. There was a man sitting across from him, dressed in a suit that could easily cost more than Emily's rent for a few months. The man looked up as she entered, his eyes scanning her quickly before he returned to the conversation. Mr. Tom stood up with a smile as she walked in. Emily, I'm glad you could make it. He motioned for her to sit down. I've been meaning to talk to you about something important. Emily sat down, trying to maintain her composure. Mr. Tom's expression was serious, but his tone was warm, as usual. This is John. He's a potential partner for one of our future projects, and I wanted you to meet him. Emily extended her hand to John, who shook it with a firm grip. Nice to meet you, she said, still unsure of the purpose of the meeting. John smiled, but there was something about him that made Emily feel uneasy. Likewise, he replied. I've heard a lot about you, Emily. Your work with the foundation is impressive. Emily nodded, still unsure of where this was going. Mr. Tom sat back down and looked at Emily with a kind expression. The reason I wanted you to meet John is because we're considering expanding the foundation's reach. We've been offered a large donation from one of his companies, and with it, we could take this initiative to a whole new level. But we need someone to lead the project, someone with experience in large-scale operations. Someone like you. Emily felt a mix of excitement and caution. A large donation meant more opportunities, more resources for the people who needed them most. But it also meant more responsibility. She was already stretched thin with her current workload. It's a big decision, Mr. Tom continued, his voice calm but sincere. I know you've been handling a lot already, but I believe you're the right person for the job. You've shown leadership, and this is an opportunity for you to grow even further, to have a bigger impact. Emily felt the weight of his words. Could she do this? Could she take on even more, knowing how much it would demand from her? She had been working tirelessly for months, and the idea of stepping into an even larger role was both thrilling and terrifying. But then she thought about everything she had worked for. She had worked hard to get to where she was, and now she had the chance to do even more. I'm honored, she said quietly, her voice steady. But I need time to think about it. This is a huge responsibility. Mr. Tom nodded, understanding. Of course. Take the time you need. Just know that this is a chance to make a real difference. A chance to shape the future of this foundation. Emily sat in silence for a moment, reflecting on everything that had brought her to this point. She had started as a waitress, never imagining that she would be sitting here today, discussing the future of a multi-million-dollar foundation. But now, with the opportunity to lead a large-scale initiative that could change the lives of even more people, the question was no longer whether she was capable. It was whether she was ready to step up and take on this challenge. I'll let you know soon, Emily said finally, her voice filled with determination. Mr. Tom smiled. Take your time. I have no doubt you'll make the right decision. As she left his office, Emily felt a renewed sense of purpose. She wasn't just in the middle of a job. She was part of something much bigger. And for the first time, she could see how much she had grown, how far she had come. The path ahead of her was uncertain, but one thing was clear. She was ready to take the next step. It had been a week since Emily had been given the opportunity to take on a larger role within the foundation. The weight of the decision still hung heavily over her. She had spent every day since the meeting reflecting on what it meant for her future. The offer from Mr. Tom was unlike anything she had ever imagined. The chance to lead a larger initiative, to make decisions that could truly impact the lives of countless people, was both thrilling and terrifying. She spent her evenings working late at the office, drafting plans, reviewing proposals, and trying to figure out how she could manage the new responsibilities without losing the sense of balance she had worked so hard to create in her life. Her mother noticed the change in her. "You seem distant lately, Emily," she said one evening as they sat in the living room together. "Are you sure you're okay?" Emily hesitated, unsure how to explain the pressure she was feeling. "I'm fine, Mom. It's just a lot right now. I have to make some big decisions, and it's overwhelming." Her mother nodded, her expression gentle. "You've always been strong. You've come so far. But don't forget to take care of yourself along the way." Emily smiled softly, grateful for her mother's unwavering support. It was a reminder she needed. As the days passed, Emily found herself more and more immersed in the work. The foundation's new project was moving forward at a rapid pace, and she had to make sure everything was in order. The team she was working with was talented, but many of them were used to following orders rather than taking initiative. Emily was still learning how to balance being a leader and being a team player, trying to assert herself without pushing anyone away. One evening, as she was reviewing a report on the latest progress of the initiative, she received another message from Mr. Tom's lawyer. "Mr. Tom would like to meet with you again tomorrow. He has an update on the funding for the new project and would like your input." Emily couldn't help but feel a twinge of anxiety. It seemed like every time Mr. Tom called, it was to discuss something important. But she knew that this was part of the process. She was part of something big now, and that meant constant decisions and conversations that could shape the future. The next day, she arrived at Mr. Tom's office once again, a familiar mix of nerves and anticipation settling in her chest. She had come so far, but each step still felt like a leap into the unknown. When she walked into his office, Mr. Tom was already there, waiting for her with a calm smile. He gestured for her to sit. "Emily, I'm glad you could make it. I know you've been busy, but I wanted to discuss something with you that's come up." Emily sat down, her mind racing. "What is it?" Mr. Tom paused for a moment, choosing his words carefully. "We've secured additional funding for the initiative, but there are some changes we need to make. We've had a few unexpected hurdles, and I want to make sure we're on the right track." Emily nodded, ready to dive into the discussion. She had learned to think quickly and adapt to the fast-paced nature of the work, but the pressure was starting to get to her. "What kind of changes are we looking at?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. "The funding is contingent on some adjustments in how we allocate resources," Mr. Tom explained. "I need you to lead a meeting with the board of directors to discuss the proposed changes. It's a big responsibility, but I trust you to handle it." Emily took a deep breath. This was the moment she had been preparing for. The meeting with the board would be a defining moment in her career. If she handled it well, she would solidify her place as a leader within the foundation. If she faltered, she might lose the respect of her colleagues and the trust of Mr. Tom. But she couldn't let fear stop her. She had already come so far. "I'll handle it," Emily said, her voice firm. Mr. Tom gave her an approving nod. "I know you will. I've seen how you work. Just remember to stay focused and trust your instincts. You're ready for this." As Emily left his office, she couldn't help but feel the weight of what lay ahead. The meeting was only a few days away, and she would have to prepare every detail carefully. She spent the next few days drafting her presentation, meeting with team members, and rehearsing her talking points. She knew that this was the opportunity she had been waiting for. It wasn't just about managing a project anymore. It was about leading a team, making decisions that would affect real people's lives, and proving to herself that she could handle it all. The night before the meeting, Emily sat in her office, staring at her notes. She had prepared for everything, but there was still a nagging feeling of uncertainty. She wasn't sure if she was ready for the pressure of it all. But then she thought back to the day Mr. Tom had given her the chance to lead. He had believed in her when no one else did. He had trusted her abilities, and she couldn't let him down now. The next morning, Emily walked into the boardroom with a newfound sense of confidence. The room was filled with some of the most powerful people in the foundation, each with their own opinions and ideas. But Emily knew that this was her moment to shine. She stood at the front of the room, took a deep breath, and began her presentation. As she spoke, She could feel the tension in the room begin to lift. She was in control, and her passion for the project was clear. The board members listened intently, nodding in agreement as Emily explained the proposed changes and how they would help maximize the impact of the initiative. By the time she finished, the room was quiet, but the atmosphere was different. The board members were impressed with her leadership, and Emily felt a sense of pride swell inside her. She had done it. The proposal was approved. As she walked out of the meeting, she felt a rush of relief. She had passed the test. She was no longer just a waitress. She was a leader, and this was only the beginning. It had been a week since the board meeting, and Emily's sense of accomplishment was still fresh. The approval of her proposal felt like the first real step into a new world. For the first time, she felt like she was truly a part of something meaningful. She had made her mark. The foundation was moving forward, and so was she. But the pressure of her new role never really eased up. There was always something to manage, something to fix, and always people counting on her. Her phone buzzed again, and when Emily glanced at it, she saw a message from Sarah, Mr. Tom's lawyer. Mr. Tom would like to meet with you tomorrow. He has an important update regarding the expansion of the project. Emily felt a wave of unease sweep over her. Mr. Tom had always been supportive, but his meetings were never casual. They always seemed to hold the weight of important decisions. She quickly responded, confirming the meeting time, though she couldn't shake the feeling that this one would be different. The next day, Emily arrived at Mr. Tom's office once again, the polished floors and sleek modern design no longer intimidating, but familiar. She had walked this path for months, and while it still felt overwhelming at times, there was a new confidence in her step. She had earned her place here. As she entered the office, Mr. Tom was already there, waiting for her with his usual calm demeanor. He smiled warmly as she entered. "Emily, I'm glad you could make it. Please, have a seat." She did as he asked, trying to keep her nerves in check. "Thank you for meeting with me, Mr. Tom," she said, her voice steady but with a hint of curiosity. "I assume this is about the expansion of the initiative?" Mr. Tom nodded, his face serious now. "Yes, but it's more than just about the project. I wanted to discuss something important that could affect the direction of everything we're working on." Emily's heart skipped a beat. "What do you mean?" Mr. Tom took a moment, then spoke. "I've been working with a group of investors who are interested in providing significant funding for the project. But there's a catch. They want to take a more hands-on approach, which could mean changes in how the foundation is managed." Emily's stomach churned. She had worked so hard to build the team and the vision for this initiative. The thought of someone else coming in and disrupting everything felt like a betrayal. "What kind of changes are we talking about?" she asked, her voice tense. Mr. Tom's gaze softened. "It's not about control, Emily. It's about expansion. These investors are offering us an opportunity to scale at a level we've never dreamed of. But that means some tough decisions ahead. You'll have to make the call on whether you're ready to adapt to these changes." Emily sat back in her chair, her mind racing. She had worked tirelessly to get to this point, and now, it seemed, everything she had built could be upended. "What's at stake here?" she asked. Mr. Tom looked at her, his eyes steady. "If you don't accept the investment, we risk losing momentum. But if you do, there's a chance for something much bigger. It's a choice between stability and growth, Emily. Between playing it safe and taking a leap into the unknown." Emily felt a lump form in her throat. This was the hardest decision she had ever faced. She had always been careful, always trying to build something sustainable without rushing into anything too risky. But now, the chance for something bigger was right in front of her, and she couldn't ignore it. "I don't know what to do," Emily said, her voice barely a whisper. "I've spent so long trying to make sure this works, but now I'm being asked to change everything." Mr. Tom leaned forward, his tone reassuring. "Change is difficult, Emily, but it's also inevitable. If you want to make a real impact, sometimes you have to take risks. I know it's not easy, but I believe in you. I know you're capable of handling this, no matter what path you choose." Emily looked at him, uncertainty still clouding her thoughts. But in that moment, she realized something. This was exactly what she had wanted all along, a chance to make a difference, to take control of her future. It wouldn't be easy, but nothing worth doing ever was. She had already come so far, and now, it was time to take that final step into the unknown. "I'll do it," Emily said, her voice steady now, her decision made. "I'll take the leap." Mr. Tom's face broke into a smile. I knew you would. And I'm here to support you, every step of the way. As Emily left his office that day, she felt a mixture of excitement and fear. This was the beginning of something bigger than she could have imagined. She had made the choice to grow, to push herself further than she had ever dreamed. And while the path ahead was uncertain, she knew one thing for sure. She was ready. Ready to face whatever came next. It had been a month since Emily made the decision to take the leap. The partnership with the investors had been finalized, and the foundation was now in the process of expanding to a scale she had never imagined. She had spent the last few weeks adjusting to her new responsibilities, working alongside her team, strategizing, and meeting with key players from the new investors. The pressure was intense, but Emily felt more alive than ever. She was no longer the unsure waitress who had stumbled into this world by chance. She was a leader, and she was learning to navigate the complexities of her new role. Yet, despite the excitement, there were moments when doubt crept in. The larger the project became, the more Emily questioned if she was capable of handling it all. It wasn't just the work itself that was overwhelming. It was the weight of the expectations. There were days when she would sit at her desk, staring at the reports, feeling like everything was riding on her shoulders. The investors had put their trust in her, and Mr. Tom had believed in her when no one else had. She couldn't afford to let them down. It was late one evening when Emily found herself deep in thought, reviewing the numbers for the next phase of the project. Her phone buzzed with a message from Mr. Tom. "Emily, I'd like to meet with you tomorrow. We need to discuss the next steps." Emily stared at the message, her heart racing. She hadn't heard from him in a few weeks, and the timing of the message felt significant. She had been working tirelessly, pushing herself harder than ever, and now it seemed like he wanted to talk. Was it about the project? Was something going wrong? She quickly typed a reply, agreeing to meet him. The next day, she found herself once again sitting across from Mr. Tom in his office, the familiar feeling of anticipation building in her chest. Mr. Tom was already there when she arrived, his demeanor calm, but his eyes reflecting a certain seriousness that made Emily's stomach churn. "Emily, I wanted to talk to you about the future of the project," he began. "We've made significant progress, and I'm impressed with everything you've done so far. But I think we need to talk about the direction we're headed." Emily nodded, trying to steady her breathing. "Of course. What do you mean?" Mr. Tom leaned forward slightly, his voice steady but firm. "The investors have been pleased with our progress, but there are some concerns. They feel that we need to move faster, that we need to expand more aggressively. The current strategy might not be enough to secure the level of funding we need for the next phase." Emily's mind raced. What did that mean? She had been working with the team to follow the strategy they had laid out, and now it seemed like it wasn't enough. "So, what are you suggesting?" she asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Mr. Tom looked at her for a moment, as though weighing his words. "I think it's time to make some bold decisions. We need to take bigger risks, expand faster, take on more projects, and make a more aggressive push for the funding we need." Emily's heart sank. Bigger risks? She had already taken a huge leap just by accepting the investor's offer. Now they were asking for more? "I'm not sure," she said quietly, her thoughts swirling. "I've been trying to balance growth with stability. But if we take on too much too soon, we might lose control. We can't afford to make mistakes." Mr. Tom smiled slightly, his gaze understanding. "I know it's a tough decision, but sometimes you have to take risks to achieve the kind of growth we're talking about. I believe in you, Emily. I believe you're ready for this. But it's going to require stepping out of your comfort zone." Emily sat in silence, feeling the weight of his words. Stepping out of her comfort zone was exactly what she had done when she agreed to take on this role. But now, with the future of the project in her hands, the stakes felt even higher. "I'll need to think about it," she said finally, her voice firm. Mr. Tom nodded. "Take all the time you need. But know that this is an opportunity to truly make an impact, to create something that will last. You're on the edge of something big, Emily." As she left his office that day, Emily's mind was filled with questions. Should she push forward, taking bigger risks to secure the future of the project? Or should she slow things down, focus on the foundation they had already built, and ensure it was sustainable before expanding too quickly? The pressure was immense, but for the first time, Emily knew she had a choice. She didn't have to follow the investors' every demand. She had the power to decide the direction of this project, to lead with her own vision. As she walked back to her office, she made a decision. She would push forward, but she would do it in her own way. She would take risks, yes, but she would be strategic. She had already proven that she could handle the pressure. Now, it was time to show that she could lead with purpose. She was ready to take the next step and create something that would truly make a difference. It had been a few weeks since Emily made the decision to move forward with the expansion of the project, and the change had been both exhilarating and overwhelming. The foundation's new direction was taking shape quickly, but it wasn't without its challenges. Emily had embraced the risk, pushing for bold changes, but she had also taken care to ensure that they were strategic. The pressure to perform at this scale was immense. There were days when she felt like everything was moving too fast, like she was barely keeping up. The investors' expectations were high, and while they trusted her abilities, she could feel their watchful eyes on every decision she made. Despite the pressure, Emily felt proud of what they were accomplishing. The initiative was expanding, partnerships were being formed, and the foundation was starting to make waves in communities that had never received this level of support before. But even with all the progress, Emily couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. She had come so far from her days as a waitress, but she had also left behind the simplicity of that life. She missed the personal connections she had with people. Now, she was caught in a whirlwind of meetings, reports, and decisions that often kept her isolated from the very people she was trying to help. One evening, as she sat in her office long after the sun had set, the weight of her thoughts caught up with her. She had been pouring everything into the project, but at what cost? She looked around the room, the sterile office space with its polished surfaces and cold walls. It wasn't that the work wasn't meaningful, it was. But she had lost the sense of connection she once had with the people she helped. Just then, her phone buzzed with a message from her mother. "How's everything going, sweetheart? I miss you." Emily read the message and felt a pang of guilt. Her mother had always been her anchor, and now, it had been days since they had had a real conversation. "I miss you too, Mom." Emily typed back, her fingers hesitating over the next words. "I've been so busy lately. I don't know if I'm doing this the right way." It felt good to admit it, even if just for a moment. She wasn't sure what the right way was anymore, but she knew something had to change. Her phone buzzed again almost immediately. "You're doing great, Emily. But don't forget to take care of yourself. You can't pour from an empty cup." Emily smiled as she read her mother's words. It was exactly what she needed to hear. It was easy to get lost in the work, to forget why she started in the first place. She had to find a way to reconnect with the heart of the work, to make sure she was leading with both purpose and compassion. The next morning, Emily made a decision. She was going to spend the day visiting one of the communities they were helping to see firsthand the impact they were making. It wasn't a grand gesture or a big meeting. It was a simple return to the roots of the foundation. She didn't need a plan or an agenda. She just needed to be present. As she arrived in the community, she was greeted by a group of volunteers who had been working on the ground, organizing resources, and helping families get back on their feet. Emily spent the day walking with them, talking to the families, hearing their stories, and understanding the challenges they faced. It was a reminder of why she had taken this leap in the first place, to help people. By the end of the day, Emily felt a renewed sense of purpose. The work was bigger than any one person, and it wasn't just about expanding projects or hitting milestones. It was about making real, tangible change in people's lives. As she drove back to the office that evening, Emily knew that the challenges she faced in her leadership role were far from over, but she felt better equipped to handle them. She had a clearer vision, one that combined the bold decisions she was making with the personal connections that kept her grounded. She was ready to take on whatever came next, knowing that the heart of the work, the people, was always at the center of everything she did. The next meeting with the investors was coming up, and this time, Emily was determined to present not just the results, but the stories behind them. She was ready to show them the real impact they were having, and why it was worth every risk they had taken. The work was no longer just about expansion. It was about ensuring that every decision they made helped to build a future where people didn't just survive, but thrived. As Emily sat down to prepare for the upcoming meeting, she felt confident. The future was uncertain, but for the first time in a long time, she was no longer afraid to face it. It was the morning of the big meeting, and Emily was feeling a mixture of excitement and nerves. The last few weeks had been a whirlwind of meetings, plans, and decisions, but today was different. Today, She would stand before the investors and the board, presenting not only the progress of the foundation's new initiative, but also her vision for its future. She had worked tirelessly for this moment, and now it was time to show everyone what she was capable of. As she walked into the conference room, she felt the familiar weight of the room's expectations bearing down on her. The large table was surrounded by high-ranking individuals, all waiting for her to speak. She could sense their scrutiny, but she didn't let it rattle her. This was her moment to prove that the risks they had taken were worth it. Mr. Tom was there, sitting at the head of the table, his presence calm but authoritative. He smiled at her as she took her place at the front of the room. "Emily," he said, his voice steady. "We're all looking forward to hearing your updates." Emily nodded, took a deep breath, and began. "Thank you, everyone, for being here today. Over the past few months, we've made incredible progress with the Foundation's new initiative. Thanks to the support from all of you, we've expanded our reach into several new communities, providing essential resources to those who need them most." She paused for a moment, letting the weight of her words sink in. She wasn't just talking about numbers or statistics. She was talking about real people, real lives. But we've also learned a lot along the way. We've faced challenges, some expected, some unexpected, but we've adapted. We've learned to move faster, to be more strategic, and to ensure that every decision we make serves the people who need it the most. Emily glanced around the room, making eye contact with a few of the investors. She could see the skepticism in their eyes, but also the glimmer of hope. They wanted to believe in her. She could feel it. "Now," she continued, "we're at a crossroads. The next phase of this initiative is critical. We have the chance to expand further, to reach even more communities, but we need to make some bold decisions. The funding is in place, but we must decide how to allocate it to ensure the greatest impact." She paused again, this time to let the weight of the decision settle in the room. "I believe in this vision," Emily said, her voice steady and confident. "I believe that with the right strategy, we can transform these communities and help them build sustainable futures. But we need to be smart about it. We need to balance our ambition with our responsibility. We can't afford to take unnecessary risks. We need to be strategic in how we move forward." Mr. Tom leaned forward slightly, his gaze sharp but supportive. "And how do you propose we do that?" he asked, his voice calm but eager to hear her thoughts. Emily took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. She had thought about this for days, weighing the pros and cons, analyzing every possible outcome. Now, she was ready to share her plan. "We need to focus on 3 key areas," she said, her voice growing stronger with each word. "First, we need to invest in education and skills training. We can provide resources, but if we don't equip people with the skills they need to succeed, the cycle of poverty will continue. Second, we need to establish partnerships with local businesses to create job opportunities. We can't just give people aid. We need to help them build careers and businesses that will sustain them long-term. And finally, we need to ensure that we are fostering community leadership. The people we are helping need to take ownership of their futures, and we need to provide them with the tools and support to do that." Emily looked around the room again, meeting the eyes of the investors, the board members, and Mr. Tom. She could feel their anticipation building. "This is the path forward," she said firmly. "It's not easy, but it's the right path. We need to be patient, but we also need to act with urgency. The people we're helping don't have the luxury of time. We need to give them the resources they need now, not later." For a moment, the room was silent. Emily held her breath, unsure of how they would respond. Then, one of the investors, a woman in her 40s with sharp features and an air of authority, spoke up. "I like your approach, Emily," she said, her voice clear. "You're not just thinking about the short term. You're thinking about long-term sustainability. That's what we need." Emily exhaled in relief. "Thank you," she said. "I believe this is the key to making a real difference." Another investor, a man with salt and pepper hair, nodded. "You've given us a lot to think about," he said. "We'll need to discuss the specifics, but I agree that this direction feels right." Emily felt a wave of pride wash over her. The approval wasn't official yet, but this was a step in the right direction. She had successfully convinced them that her vision for the future was worth investing in. As the meeting drew to a close, Mr. Tom stood up and addressed the room. "I'm proud of what Emily has accomplished here. She's not only shown leadership, but she's shown heart. This is why I believe in her. She's ready for this." Emily's heart swelled with pride as the meeting ended. She had done it. She had earned their trust, and she had made a real impact. But as she walked out of the room, she knew that this was just the beginning. There was still so much to do, and the challenges would only get bigger. But now, she was ready for them. She was no longer the unsure waitress from a small diner. She was a leader, and she was going to change the world. It had been several months since Emily's bold decisions had led to the successful expansion of the foundation. The project had grown beyond anyone's expectations, and Emily found herself at the helm of a movement that was truly changing lives. The initiative was now operating in several major cities across the country, providing resources, education, and job opportunities to communities that had long been overlooked. It was no longer just a project. It was a legacy in the making. Emily had learned a great deal in such a short time. She had gained the confidence to make difficult decisions, the ability to lead a diverse team, and the courage to push forward even when the stakes were high. But most importantly, she had rediscovered the heart of the work, the people. The moments when she saw the impact of their efforts, when she saw families starting new businesses or kids getting the education they deserved, made it all worth it. One day, as Emily sat in her office reviewing the latest reports, she received a call from Mr. Tom. "Emily, I wanted to check in and see how things are going. I've been hearing great things." His voice was calm, but she could sense the pride in his words. "Everything's moving forward," she replied, her voice full of confidence. "We've made huge strides, and the communities are responding better than we hoped. But I know we're just getting started." "That's exactly the mindset I wanted to hear," Mr. Tom said with a chuckle. "I'm proud of you, Emily. You've more than proven yourself." Emily smiled to herself, feeling a rush of gratitude. It had been a long road, but hearing those words from Mr. Tom meant everything. "Thank you, Mr. Tom. I couldn't have done it without your support." There was a brief pause on the line before Mr. Tom spoke again. "Actually, there's something I wanted to talk to you about. It's not about the project, but it's important. I've been thinking a lot about the future and how you've handled everything. And I think it's time for you to take the next step in your career." Emily felt a wave of uncertainty wash over her. "What do you mean?" she asked cautiously. "I'm offering you a larger role within the company, Emily. You've earned it. This isn't just about the foundation anymore. It's about shaping the future of our entire organization." Emily's mind raced. A larger role? She had already taken on so much, and now Mr. Tom was asking her to take on even more. But she knew that the reason she had gotten this far was because she had always said yes to opportunities, no matter how daunting they seemed. "What kind of role are you talking about?" she asked, her voice steady. "I want you to head up a new division we're starting," Mr. Tom explained. "We're expanding into international markets, and I think you're the perfect person to lead this effort. You've proven that you can handle complex projects, and this is a chance for you to take what we've built here and bring it to the world." Emily sat back in her chair, stunned. International expansion? It was a huge leap, a massive challenge. But as she thought about it, she realized that it was the next logical step. She had taken risks before, and they had paid off. She could do this. "I'm honored by your offer, Mr. Tom," Emily said after a moment, her voice filled with determination. "I'm ready. Let's do it." "I knew you'd say that," he replied with a laugh. "You're ready, Emily, and I have no doubt you'll succeed in this new role. We'll work together to make sure you have everything you need." As Emily hung up the phone, she sat in silence for a moment, processing what had just happened. This was the opportunity of a lifetime. The foundation had grown beyond her wildest dreams, and now, she was about to take it to the global stage. The stakes were higher than ever, but Emily was no longer the unsure young woman who had walked into Mr. Tom's office all those months ago. She was a leader, and she was ready to take on whatever came next. In the weeks that followed, Emily immersed herself in the preparations for the international expansion. She worked closely with the team, developing strategies, securing partnerships, and building the foundation for success in new markets. It was hard work, but Emily thrived on the challenge. She knew that the future of the organization depended on the decisions they made now. She had always believed that real change started at the grassroots level, and she was determined to take that philosophy with her as the foundation expanded. It wasn't just about reaching more people. It was about doing it the right way, with integrity, passion, and a commitment to making a difference. One day, as she sat in a meeting with international partners, discussing the next steps for the expansion, Emily realized how far she had come. The woman sitting in front of them was confident, capable, and ready to lead on a global scale. She had once been a waitress, unsure of her future, but now she was part of something much bigger. The work was far from over, but Emily had found her purpose. As the meeting ended, she stood up, feeling a sense of pride and excitement for what lay ahead. This was just the beginning, and Emily knew that she was ready to face whatever challenges came next. She was no longer just a part of the organization. She was shaping its future. The journey had been long, but it was only just beginning. Discover a series of touching stories that showcase the power of kindness, perseverance, and leadership. Follow Emily, a waitress who finds herself unexpectedly thrown into the world of nonprofit leadership after helping a poor elderly man. This series of touching stories takes you on an emotional journey of self-discovery, as Emily navigates the challenges of leading a foundation dedicated to helping those in need. Through the ups and downs, Emily's journey is a testament to the strength of the human spirit and the transformative power of compassion. These touching stories highlight how small acts of kindness can lead to life-changing opportunities. From a simple act of generosity to the complexities of managing a rapidly growing nonprofit, each moment in Emily's story brings forth deep emotional resonance and inspiration. As Emily takes on bigger challenges, including international expansion, her story serves as a reminder that life-changing moments can come when we least expect them. These touching stories reveal how believing in yourself and helping others can lead to unexpected success. Follow Emily's journey and be inspired by these touching stories that prove that the best things in life come when we're ready to step into the unknown.